Hi, welcome back to my sewing room. It has been so much fun here lately. I have been sewing things that I really love, and I've been very excited for my sewing, and you guys have been very responsive and very engaged, and I appreciate it so much. I also would like to thank Peta for once again contributing to my Ko-fi. I am working to save up for this really elaborate project that I want to do, so thank you again for contributing to that. If someone contributes before this video comes out, I will make sure your name is mentioned at the end of this video. I like shooting these intros before I start the project so I can go back and kind of see the evolution of excitement and mood versus what comes out at the end. But lately things have been coming out really well. I am right now wearing one of the dresses that I most recently made. I will leave a link for this video in the description if you want to check out this dress. I made this dress and another one from the same pattern at the same time, and I love them both. I've been getting to wear lately a lot of the things that I have been making. The denim dress that was my last project is like everything. You have to watch that video. So when I tell you that I am so excited to sew, so motivated, I'm just really, really happy. And I think you guys can tell because you're enjoying the videos as well. And you are interacting with me in the comments and my email and all of those things. I am so, so very grateful. Remember, if you cannot give to the Ko-fi, which the link will be in the description because like I said, I'm saving up for that very big project. Remember that engagement is support too. Support comes in many different forms. So any share, comment, anything you do that engages with my content is support. If you watch the video all the way to the end, say something. I want to know those people's names that watch the video all the way to the end. So please leave a thumbs up in the comments because I want to know those people who watch the entire video. Okay, so let's talk about today's project. We're working with vintage reproduction, which we all know can go either way, but it's a vintage Butterick, so we shall see. It says that it's average. It looks average. The number is B5813. It's currently not on the website, but I looked it up. There are plenty on eBay and there are some on Amazon Prime if you would like to purchase this one. And I think it's just a really, really cute pattern. So the last make, the denim dress, we did the slim skirt. So for this one, I'm going to do the full skirt. We're going to be doing version C. And because the jacket collar turned out so well on the denim make, I am no longer as terrified of collars. So we're going to be doing the collars. I really like that detail of the gathering at the bust. I think it just shapes well and it's just really flattering. I love 3/4 length sleeves, of course. I mean, it's just my thing. So that's what we're going to be doing, view C. The fabric I selected is this. Not that sure what it is. I picked this up when I went on the fabric shopping trip with my husband to Atlanta. I will leave a link to that video as well if you have not seen it. It was very fun. I have footage of my husband cutting fabric. It's a whole thing, but it was really, really fun. And so I got this fabric there and I got it for a really good deal. I'm going to have to go back and look at the receipt, which I do have somewhere, so I can see exactly how much I paid for it for when we do the financial wrap up at the end, where we talk about the cost of supplies and the cost of time and how much it really does take to sew your own clothes, not just money-wise, but time-wise as well. Very excited for this project. Thank you all again for being here. If you make it to the end, leave me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to share those as well. I have been doing a lot of shorts lately too. You can check those out. The denim dress that I made, I recorded the whole process in shorts along the way. So I made a playlist for that if you want to check it out. I thought it was really fun. I really, really love that dress. I love that dress. So let me know also in the comments if you watched that video and what you thought of the denim dress. Is it your favorite thing I ever made or not? Because it was definitely one of mine. I'm having a really, really good time, if you can't tell, and I hope you are too. So let's get into the sewing. I'm mocking up this blouse because I don't have time for the drama. So we're going to do a mock-up, a very, very rough one. I just want to make sure that it fits the way that it should. The last time I did a mock-up on the blue and white dress that was like when I really got engaged again with sewing, because I was able to make the alterations before I got to the final thing, and it fit me so well, and it was just so cute. I'll leave a link to that as well if you haven't seen that one. That's the one where it's like, oh, how to sew a dress in 3 years or less, because I was terrified of that dress. It's one Angela Clayton did and that she struggled with, and so it was like one of the first vintage reproduction sewing patterns I had bought, and it took me 3 years before I got the guts to sew it, but it ended up coming out beautifully, and I think doing the mock-up had something to do with that. So I'm going to get my pattern pieces out. I'm going to check the final measurements to see what I'm thinking the best size will be, and we're going to mock up the blouse, and we're doing the full skirt, so we're not going to mock it up. I might actually start with the skirt today and get it completed, and tomorrow we'll move into the blouse. I'm hoping this is a fairly quick make so I can get it up, but I ordered the accessories for it already, so we're going to be dependent on when they come, so we'll see what happens. But I'm just rambling at this point, so let's just get into the sewing. So I eagerly got started with the skirt. The pieces were very big, so I had to cut them out separately. I did match up the grain line to make sure it was going to lay right, got it pinned down, and proceeded with getting it cut out. And then you will see, while I'm still working on the skirt, the outfit changes. It's because my kids did not cooperate with me sewing that day. This has been a reoccurring theme, and this is the reason why it takes me so long to get content out. I am now working full-time outside of my home, and I use some of the weekends for sewing, and it's also family time, and so it's a weird balance of trying to find time to sew and still trying to be present on the weekend for my family. So they're being more flexible as they see my excitement for it, and I'm being more flexible with my timeline, and so that's why we have moved to a every other Sunday release date, and I hope that's okay with you. So you see me transfer the marks on the skirt, and now we are working on the pleats, which used to be my nemesis that I am getting so much better with. So on this Saturday morning, my family was pretty gracious and allowed me a few hours, so I thought I would just work on getting the skirt completed today. So after I basted down those pleats, I then seamed the skirt together at the front and the center back, and then it was time to attach it at the side seams, remembering to leave room for the zipper, which I sometimes forget to do. So you see me here pinning it all in place, and now we will head over to the sewing machine and get it all seamed together. And like I said, skirts can be a pretty quick process minus the hem, but other than that, getting the seams put together was pretty painless, and we ended up with the skirt that looked like this. And then it was time to begin work on the mock-up of the blouse, which was a lot more complicated. So what I learned from my first mock-up was that this was too big. I cut a size 18, and I'm thinking I need to cut it at a 14, but it fit well everywhere else, but this dart also needed to be extended, which on the size 14, it is extended. So I'm going to try to leave it at the 18 on the side seams and just change the 14 at the shoulder seams and bring the dart in. So I'm going to do that and see if that helps, and then we'll see what other changes need to be made. So first mock-up done, we're going to go into the second now. So what I've decided to do here is leave everything else at the 18, but switch I cut the neckline down to the 14, and we're going to take the darts down to the 14, and then on the front piece, it'll be open more. Because of the higher the neck, the lower. So what I'm trying to decide is with the arm side, should I leave it at the 18 or should I take it to the 14? What I think I'm going to do is go to the 16 and split the difference. And so that's the best that I could come up with as far as making the alteration. So we're going to give it a go and see what happens. So as I'm recording this part of the voiceover, I have yet to completely finish the dress or try it on. So I do hope that I made the right choice with the arm side. I ended up having difficulties through other parts of trying to figure out what size to take those two based on the fact that I did the 14 and the 18. You see me here trying out my new marker to make sure that this fabric can take it. And this is something that I recommend you doing because I've used these water soluble markers before that haven't always left the fabric. And so I just wanted to double check that it would, which I end up having to switch later on because the blues become too confusing with the blue and the fabric. But for the time being, it did work. So transferring the marks on the bodice, and we are moving right along with this project. This pattern did have some strangely shaped pattern pieces, which I'm not sure why that is extended like that. Even though I am mostly through the dress, I still don't quite understand why. And it was at times confusing because both of the versions are on the same pattern piece, but I didn't want to cut the pattern in case I later on want to make that other view. And so you can see how that is extended down. Oh, I do know why. It's for the way it's gathered at the bust and then attaches to the skirt. And so, okay, that makes sense. And then here I am now cutting out the other pieces to the bodice that go at the bottom, and we are moving right along. So on my mock-up, for some reason, I had trouble with pieces 6 and 7, like figuring out how they go. I was looking at the illustration, and of course, it's showing you the wrong side. So 6 is in front of 7, and for some reason, I just went through a weird thing, and I put notes on their dots at the top. So it should look like, so it should go this way and then look like that. And here. So I'm going to get these pinned together and get it over to the sewing machine. So yes, if you sew up this pattern, beware of pieces 6 and 7 that attach to that weirdly shaped piece number 1. It's always fun doing this voiceover and looking through the footage and seeing what was going on at different times because I don't often remember some of the challenges or the victories that happened. So even for me, figuring out pieces 6 and 7 was a victory because for some reason, I cannot show you in a quick video of how long it took me to be like, what is happening? So yes, got those together and then got those stitched to the bodice, and that is what you see me doing now. Okay, so on piece 1, I just got through putting the darts and stuff in the back, but on piece 1, you're going to reinforce through here, and then you're going to clip into the mark there, and I put a I just pulled it out. I had put a mark there because my pen being blue, which I can still see it there, it was hard to see it at times. That was so funny. You see me pull out the tailor's tack that is supposed to be that let me know where the mark was, but I have yet to master tailor's tack, so it very easily came out. But also, I wondered, did you catch Serena playing in the background? I watch her videos and my other favorite YouTubers' videos while I sew. And so, yes, that was her face in the back, if you caught that. But yes, piece number 1 was a very weird piece. And when attaching pieces 6 and 7, on the 2 separate pieces, the first one went in very well because I remembered to cut into that marking before I then gathered it down and then attached the pieces. When I did it for the second time, like on the right side, I struggled for so long to get the pieces to go in right, and I could not figure out why. And it was because I forgot to clip into that dart, or into that dot rather. And so they would not fit. And so that was the weird thing. And so even with cutting into the dot, it's still hard to get those to go in. So I do consider this an advanced beginner pattern, but I guess with my video, a beginner could do it. watching my mistakes and knowing what to look for, I think is helpful. So, yes, you see me here struggling with getting pieces 6 and 7 attached to the bottom of that bodice, but I eventually do. So, yes, pieces 6 and 7 attaching to one was a little bit difficult. I am not going to lie. This bodice was not the easiest I have done. It wasn't the hardest, but it is definitely not the easiest. It takes a lot of pins and a lot of slow moving to be able to get it inserted and insert it properly so that way it looks well, but it ended up coming out and I'm pretty proud of the way that it looks. So that's just one side, and now we have to do it again, but I'll spare you the footage. And now you see me getting the fronts attached at the center front, remembering to stop at the dot, or could I be? No, here I am doing center back. And then these two are the fronts, and they go to the dot and do not go further because it will be a whole thing when you are attaching the neck facing, which we will get to pretty shortly. But for right now, we're just seaming up the center front and the center back of the bodice. And now I am pinning it at the side seams, remembering that one side is going to have to be left open below the notch for the zipper. I believe it's the left side. I think it's kind of always the left side. And then you will do the shoulder seams as well. So I pinned it all at the same time and then took it over to the sewing machine and got it all stitched together. And so far, so good. I'm really proud with how everything has turned out so far. I need to do the neck facing, the sleeves, the zipper, attach it to the skirt, and the dreaded collar, of course. But I'm very proud of how well it came out, even though it took so much longer than I can show in one video. But let's move into the final stretch. Collar, facing, sleeves, all of the things that I dread the most. So I started off the sleeve with transferring the notches. I've learned the importance of this and how 2 is the front and 3 is the back, or 1 is the front and 2 is the back, whichever. I've learned that there is a difference. And this sleeve in particular has 3 darts, and so I transferred the marks for all 3 of those and then proceeded with getting those pinned in place, which was slightly tricky because they are very, very small darts. Not really sure why there are 3 of them if they're so small. I guess it's a design choice more than a function choice, but a little bit tricky, but I got it done. And then we headed over to the sewing machine. So I sat down to get those 3 small darts stitched into the sleeves that were pretty difficult. You see my mouth moving so much because I am talking to my mother and we have the liveliest conversations. Hi, Mom. I know you're watching. And after I got in those darts, instead of just getting up and moving back to the cutting table, I decided while I was here, I would go ahead and pin the sleeves at the side seams and then get those stitched in place. And so that's what you see me doing here. And it was a pretty quick process. And then I believe off camera, or I did film me inserting it, but the footage was so hard to see that I just left it off. But I did get the sleeves inserted and it was a pretty painless process and they ended up looking pretty good like this. And so now it is time to work on the neck facing, which was pretty difficult because of the way it is cut and getting to the mark and getting it right. So this is the neck facing pinned in, and then this is once it is stitched and pressed. And it looks fairly good. Not my neatest work, but not the worst. And now it is time for the collar. So I put interfacing on one side of the collar and then I pinned them together and took those over to the sewing machine to get stitched together. And yeah, it's coming right along. And currently, this is about where I am as I'm doing the voiceover. I got the collar stitched together, got it flipped to the right side, got it pressed, and it is currently pinned onto the bodice. And that is where we are at the moment of this voiceover. And so it stops here, and I am going to try and get this finished by Sunday. Where I left off on that voiceover is here. We have the collar pinned to the bodice. I just need to get it attached. And it has this extension piece for where the zipper goes. Get the zipper put in and get the bodice attached to the dress. Get the sleeves hemmed. All of the things. Today is Sunday, so clearly the video is not going up. But hopefully I get it done today and it can go up Monday, Tuesday at the latest. We shall see. Today was a day. Yeah. So we did like spring cleaning stuff and all of the things, and it's 3 o'clock on Sunday and I'm just getting started. So doubt we're going to get the video out today, but we can at least get the dress finished today. We'll see what happens. Let's get this attached. So I sat down to get the collar stitched on, and I had every right to be apprehensive about this. My confidence from the last collar I did quickly faded. That was a stand collar. This sort of collar is the one that I do not like. It was not a fun process. I ended up putting it in and taking it out so many times. And then I did the finishing work by hand. I did some weird things where I didn't pull out the neckline far enough, like poke the edges sharp enough. And so things didn't line up the way they should. And I had to fix a lot of things by hand. But I ended up getting it on. If you have any tips or tricks or resources for collars, please let me know, because this was a nightmare and it doesn't lay right, but I did my best to press it into place. Next was the hemming of the sleeves, which I've learned to loosen the tension on my sewing machine and it keeps those waves from happening. That is a pointer tip that someone gave me here in a comment section one time, and so that helped. Next was hemming of the dress. It did not help on that. I don't know what happened, but the hemming of the dress went really weird. I did my best to like steam out the fullness, but it ended up really weird. But you can't really tell when I'm wearing it, so it's whatever. So also, if you have any tips for the hemming of full skirts, please feel free to share those with me as well. Then I worked on getting the bodice of the dress pinned to the skirt, which was a painless process. It went fairly smooth. The notches matched up. Everything went well with that. This fabric, I'm not sure what exactly it is, but it frays so bad. I wish you could feel it so you could tell me what it is, because I don't know. It feels rough on one side, and I use that as the right side, and then like satiny on the other side. I'm not sure what it is, but it frayed really, really bad. But I use pinking shears, so it is what it is. I need to work on learning French seams. I got it attached and it looked good. All that's left to do is the zipper. I thought I was going to have to do that extension piece that I cut out, but that's just if you're doing snaps instead of a zipper. So I didn't need that. I put the zipper in by hand, is my per use these days. It's just a way cleaner, easier finish, and the dress was done. So I got the zipper put in. As you can see, I'm actually wearing the dress. The collar, yes, is a little weird, but that's another thing. But before we get into the final photos, I want to talk about cost and thank my newest Ko-fi contributors since the beginning of the video. I like doing these cost analysis. It puts things in perspective when it comes to sewing and making your own clothes, or hiring someone or commissioning someone to make something, or making you more aware of the fast fashion that you purchase. So for this dress, I used 4 yards of fabric at $18 a yard, which is $72. The pattern was 11, and then I had to buy a zipper, which was 3, which puts my material cost at $86. So let's talk labor. I worked on this dress over the course of 3 weekends for a total of about 19 hours. So at $20 an hour, which is the going rate for a novice seamstress of about my skill level here in Kentucky, would put the total labor cost at $380. So with the $86 in materials and the $380 in labor, that puts the total cost for this dress at $466. So that really puts your mind in a space of things that people make with their hands and buying things that last, and just how much or how little people are being paid to make our clothing fast fashion. If you can buy a shirt for $5, you know what I mean? So I think it's a good way to gauge things, and I will say I got the idea from my friend Haley over at Haley Marie Vintage. She does it after every one of her projects, and I thought it was such a cool idea, so I've started to do it myself, and it does put things in perspective. So with that said, a cost analysis, I would like to thank my most recent Ko-fi contributors. Peta, I did mention you at the beginning of the video, but you have given multiple times, so I would like to thank you again. And then my latest and new Ko-fi contributor is Janet. Thank you so much to the both of you. I am so appreciative of your generosity. If you have previously given, your name was probably mentioned in the video that came before this one, but I want to thank you as well. So with all of that said, let's get into the final photos of my $466 dress with the weird collar. So if you can't tell by the grin, I'm very happy with the dress. The collar is a little weird, but what are you gonna do? I'm glad I stuck with it. I like these shoes a lot, and you can really see the detail at the waist of those pieces 1, 6, and 7 that I struggled so much with. I think it's a really pretty detail that for a second I wasn't so sure about. There was times when sewing this dress that I wasn't sure if I liked it at all, but I do. I like it very much. I was gonna go with these shoes and this purse and belt, but I'm so glad I didn't. The skinny belt and slimmer bag are so much simpler and less distracting in my opinion. I will do some shorts of the different accessory choices, and I would love to hear your opinions on what you think of all of this. Overall, I am very happy with this. The collar, yeah, it was a thing, but at least I got the practice in, and I'm happy. I have a beautiful dress to wear, and I'm twirling off to go sew something new. I would love to hear what you think of the dress, so please leave me some sort of comment or feedback or question below. Let me know what you would like to see me sew up next, as I have nothing in the works just yet. And I will see you in my next video that is soon and sure to come.